The Model Shop live scale modeling show is brought to you by Tenant Controls, makers of lighting kits, soundboards, and more. Tenant Controls brings your models to life. And by HDA ModelWorks, suppliers of scale model lighting products, detail parts, and complete model kits. Visit HDAModelWorks.com today. Well, hello again, everybody. Boyd here with you, and welcome to another episode of the Model Shop, the live scale model show, coming to you from our shop here in San Antonio, Texas. We've got a nice show in store for you guys tonight. We're going to be, of course, heading over at the beginning of the show, like we have been for a while now, over to our Google community page to take everybody here through the updates that are going on over at the community. A lot of really cool builds going on. We're right in the middle of our Halloween group build. We've had a lot of participation in it this year. I just wanted to say a big thank you to everybody for joining in the fun. It's been a blast. Seen some really cool, creative stuff out there already, so keep it coming, guys. We're all looking forward to it. I just posted a reminder at the top of the page over there a little while ago, reminding everybody that wants to have their pictures included in our slideshow this year that we're going to do on our Model Shop Halloween show, which will be on the 29th. I think that's the correct date for this year. Halloween falls on a Tuesday this year, unfortunately, so we're going to do the show on the last Sunday before Halloween, so that should be the 29th. So the 28th is the cutoff day for getting your pictures in, and what I'd like everybody to do is go over there and have a look at the post that I made. It's pinned to the top of the page. It talks about making sure you get your pictures in there by the 28th at the end of the day. And then make sure that the pictures you're posting there, guys, label it your final picture of your build, so that I know that that's the pictures that you want me to use for the slideshow. Try to take as clear pictures as possible. If you're using, lighting and stuff like that on your build, it's fine if you have the lights turned down a little bit so you can see it and everything. But make sure it's not blurry and stuff like that. Try to take the best pictures you can, and then make sure you include the description of what you built in your post, and your name that you'd like to use, whether it's your user handle name that you use here in the community or if it's your actual real name. So I have all that information in one place, and it'll make it a lot easier for me to go ahead and get the whole slideshow put together. So I'll be working on that. I see that there's a few of them in there that are already posted as the finals, so I've already put those into the beginning part of the slideshow, but we'll have a lot more to come in, probably pretty close to the 28th. So but I'll get them in there, and it'll be a lot of fun to have our show that night and have everybody's work all in one place. And give everybody the credit for all the hard work they put in. So I'm really looking forward to that. We're going to head over to the page in just a second. On the bench tonight, I've got this, for you car modelers out there, I've got this really nice little kit from Polar Lights. I'm building this one up. This is a 1969 Torino Talladega, a special Ford Torino that was built for NASCAR racing in 1969. I think they used it in 72. But Richard Petty actually drove this car in 69. It's the only year he ever drove a Ford. He always drove Mopar products basically his whole early part of his career. Later on, he switched over to GM and drove some Grand Prix and stuff like that. But this is a really cool kit, and these are kind of new kits that came out from Polar Lights. There's on the box art here, you can see some of the other kits they're making. There's a Leroy Yarborough car. There's a Cale Yarborough car. There's one of Richard's later Dodge Chargers. These are all in 1/25th scale. But I'm building this up for the cancer awareness build that's being hosted by Kenny over at Mindless Model Works. The light blue color here is supposed to represent prostate cancer, the light blue ribbon that they have for that. So just all of us older guys out there definitely know what that's all about. If you haven't done it, guys, you need to get your prostate checked out if you're over 50 years old. That's what doctors recommend. So, but anyway, I've been doing some work on this kit, and I'm going to take you over to the bench. And we're not going to really do like a specific out-of-the-box review, but I'm going to show you some parts to this kit because I'm really, really impressed with it. For Polar Lights, kind of, just fairly recently getting into these kind of stock car models, and I really like that they're doing these vintage stock car models especially. It's a really, really nice kit with a lot of detail. I'll talk about the pros and cons that I've seen on this kit, and then I'm going to talk about some scale model car building tips for building race car type cars that some of you guys out there might not have seen before. That'll help your model look a lot more realistic and just kind of bring out the details a little bit more. So I'm going to be working on some of that. I've already got the body painted on it, and I'm going to take you through and show you how we detailed some of the things out on this. I'm going to put the chrome trim around the windows. In this case, it's more of like a brushed aluminum look. It's not chrome like it is on a street car, but we're going to show you how we do that. And then we've got the tires we've got to work on. So I've got some tips. I'm going to show you how to make the tires look more realistic, and some wash effects and some other things that we'll get to here on the bench in just a little bit. Towards the end there, you can see in my background picture, I've got the alien UFO saucer that I've been working on. I just got it painted. I shot a video of that, and I'll be putting that out in a couple of days on the YouTube channel for those of you that are following along. We'll give you a quick glimpse of that here towards the end too. Playing around with some different types of the chrome paint that's available out there. So I've got a little bit of information. I'll be talking about that on the next video on that to share with you guys. Some really nice stuff that I found out there after watching some other people's reviews and playing around myself with a little bit, and I'm really happy with how it's turning out. And so we'll come back. We're going to take a quick break so I can get everything set up on the page here, and we'll hop on over to the Google community and we'll have a look at what's going on, give you some updates on some of the Halloween builds, and then some of the other really cool builds that are going on. So we'll see you with that in just a few seconds, everybody. Be right back. Okay, everybody, well, we're back with you again, and here's a look at our Google community page. We'll scroll down here like we have been the last couple of weeks and take a look at all the action that's going on. There's always some really interesting builds and some good camaraderie going back and forth between our members here. We're doing really good on the community. We're up to about 900 members now. I'm really glad to see more people joining in. There's been some new people that joined in and made some really nice comments about all the people that have helped them out since they've been here and everything, so I'm really glad to hear that. But here's the post that I just talked about a few minutes ago, right here at the top. This just talks about our reminder of the Halloween group build and to get those pictures in on the 28th. And so you guys can go and read that a little bit later and get your pictures sent in, and we'll get it all put together and have a lot of fun with that. Here we have a final update and picture from Bob Busking of his 71 Plymouth GTX that he just finished up in the plum crazy purple color, and we'll just pop this one up on the screen for you. Turned out really, really nice. He's got the air grabber hood on this one with the 6-pack setup, and really, really cool job. The realistic looking wood steering wheel in there and everything. Turned out really nice, Bob. Nice shine on it. Looks like he even decided to do the air cleaner in the same body color. That's pretty cool. Nice photos of the model. Thanks for sharing that with us, Bob. And then we've got James Frost here, who's our paper modeler, resident paper modeling master. James is fantastic at doing these. Let's see, I'm going to have to read this. He's working on the Falcon 9, which is, I believe, is a rocket. And he's talking about here that it's with rain and humidity, you have to slow down a little bit with paper models. But let's check out what James has got going on here. And sometimes, like I said, when you look at these paper models, you can't tell them apart from a real styrene model. I mean, it's just fantastic what can be done with paper. And you can see that a lot of these are simply files that you can download, and they're, when you print them out and everything, they're already, the paint, you don't have to do any painting. Everything's, all the colors and all the detail are already printed on these pieces, so that saves you a little bit of time too. But James is a really nice guy, and he's always available if you're interested in getting into paper modeling. James can tell you all about how he's learned to do this and what you'll need to do it. Tips on the printer that you might need. Assembly techniques, all kinds of stuff. And he's become really, really good at it, as you can see here. Starting to put everything together in one piece here. Stages of the rocket. Now this is all paper, guys. This is totally amazing. I mean, look at the detail on these landing struts and everything. You'd swear that that was a styrene model kit. Looks like that's going to be a pretty good sized build too. So thanks a lot for sharing that with us, James. Something different. I know that there's not a lot of paper modelers out there, but it can actually be, really economical since you don't have to paint and, all that kind of thing. So if you don't have room or if you can't be painting inside with your plastic model kits, you can consider, definitely consider paper modeling. Kenny Conklin from Sci-fi Fantasy has been working on his kit. Let's check out his. He's working on a Halloween build. This is the, I believe this kit's by, I could be wrong, but I think it's Mobius. It's the Michael Myers model kit. It's either Mobius or Polar Lights. I'm pretty sure it's Mobius. But you can see they got a really good likeness of the mask. Of course, that's the famous old Don Post Captain Kirk mask from back in the 70s that they chose for Michael Myers' creepy looking face. And Kenny's doing some really nice clean work on this build. Look how clean his paint work is here, guys. It looks really good. Realistic looking wood there. Kenny's talking about building the whole front facade to the Myers house to go along with the porch there, so that'll be interesting to see. Here he's getting the figure all put up and set up in place. Got his seams and everything done really clean on the putting the figure together. Some more of the front area. Looks like he's doing some little concrete work here. So great update. Thanks for sharing that with us, Kenny. And we have Chris Farrell with a Strike Rogue. This is a Gundam, I suppose. I'm not an expert on these guys, so I apologize ahead of time if I butcher anything up. But that's a pretty fantastic looking build. Lots of color detail there. As you guys know that build these are, these consists of like 1,000 parts. Everything's articulated. It's become a really popular genre for the hobby for building models. And we have Excalibur Starship Builders, who's doing a Cheyenne class kit bash. Let's have a look at this. Looks like the saucer section going on there. Got some warp engine pylons going on. Looks like it's going to have maybe 4 warp engines. Some nice little update on that one. Looks like those are resin parts. And we have Steve F. working on the famous Barracuda from the movie Phantasm, which I built one of those a while back and had a lot of fun doing that. It's a really cool car. He's got that, and he's got getting the paintwork all sorted out on that. And then he's working on this resin Christopher Lee Dracula bust, and he's asking about what everyone thinks of the likeness. I think it looks really, really good. It's all in the painting when it comes down to figures. You get the basic, if they have the basic sculpt right, which looks pretty good to me, and then you do the painting and everything to bring out all those details and everything, it's going to look just like them. So I think that's going to be pretty cool. Really, I'm a big fan of Christopher Lee, like you guys know. I think there's a, it may make it out yet this year, towards the end of the year. There's a new Scars of Dracula kit being put out by, I believe it's Mobius, possibly Polar Lights again. I can't really remember. 1/6 scale, and it's got it comes so you can pose it a couple different ways. But it's nice to see some of the classic Hammer horror film stuff coming out. That's there's still a lot of fans of that, even though it's basically from the 60s and 70s. There's still a lot of people that enjoy the original Hammer films. Some really wonderful characters from those movies, and it'd be nice to see some more kits out of those. Gadgetron, our roving reporter, has some news here for us. We see that Bandai is now going to release a 1/1000 scale base space battleship Yamato kit to go along with some of the other ships that they've released in that scale. So that'll be nice to have that to go along with that. Those are always really popular. Down here a little farther, we have more news from Gadgetron that Round 2 is going to repop the Klingon Vorcha class battlecruiser kit, which hasn't been out since 1992. Anybody that's built that kit will remember that the kit came in a really huge box, and when you open the box, the model was kind of just down in the corner of the box. I kind of thought that was kind of one of the funny things. It's a great design. I really like it. It's from the TNG era, and as you can see, you can have a lot of fun painting all the markings and doing some weathering on this. I built one of these a while back too and did some lighting on it and had a lot of fun with that. But it's a great model, and it's nice to see it back because when these kits go out of production for a long time, they of course get kind of expensive, so prices ought to be a little bit more affordable. We'll get to see whether they do any retooling on it or not. They'll probably update the decals like they usually do, so maybe the markings will be a little bit more complete. That'd be nice. And then we have our friend Omar, who's completed one of his Halloween builds. This is the Crypt Keeper. Let's have a look at this. Omar always does a great job on his Halloween, well, all of his work, but he really goes all out on Halloween every year. And he came up with a really nice, interesting idea again this year, representing some of his favorite rock music bands to go along with the character here. I think that's really cool looking. I don't know what that stuff is made of, but I'm sure if you read it a little bit further, he'll tell you, or if you ask him a question if you want to know. But he always does some extra touches on his builds that just, personalize them a little bit, and that's always a lot of fun. And you can see he did a great job on the figure itself. Let's have a few more looks here. That's a pretty cool looking display. I really like that. Got some real hair going on using some kind of microfiber. Uh, Looks like it might be similar to the stuff I used for cobwebs when I did my Munsters build. But some really nice texture and everything to make the look of the Crypt Keeper. Some nice texture on the clothing and everything. Some cool work on the book itself. Really nice job. Some of my favorite bands too there, Omar. For sure. Yeah, you can see all the beautiful weathering and washes that he did on this to bring out all the texture. Looks really great. Some more artwork in the book. Really nice touches there. Great job, Omar. And let's see, moving on down the line, we've got Leona Timber Company is doing the a really great kit. I really like this kit. It's the Wicked Witch of the West kit. I believe that one's by Mobius as well. Or maybe Polar Lights. I'm sorry if I get these wrong tonight, guys. I just don't keep up with the brand names as much as I should. But whoever makes the kit, it's an awesome kit. It's a resin kit. Um, and you can see the likenesses of the characters from the original film are spot on. And you can have a lot of fun working on this with all the detail and everything. And there she is herself, the Wicked Witch of the West. Or the East, I'm sorry. The West was the Good Witch, I think. Looks really, really good. And those flying monkeys still give me the creeps. And they're included in that kit. And then we have Grayson Peoples working on Christine. Of course, that's definitely one of my favorites. I actually restored one of the real cars. I posted some pictures of that a while back. Had a lot of fun. Always used to have a lot of fun driving that car around. People always knew what it was. And Murphy and her father, I'm sorry, Grayson is the daughter, and Murphy is the father. Grayson's been busy with school and everything. I understand she's starting college pretty soon, so good for her. And but she's able to participate in our Halloween group build this year. And I just think it's great that whenever you have a chance, when you're, when you can model with your kids or whatever, son, daughter, um, whatever you have, and just spending time together working on something, creating, that's always a really good thing. And the more young people we can see in the hobby, the better. The car is looking really good. She's got her basic two-tone colors going on here. Looks like she's priming all the parts and everything, getting it all ready to go in this shot. Color of the red looks really good to me. That's a great little kit too. The engine's not exactly right in it from what everybody's pointed out, but the rest of the car looks exactly like it, so you can make it turn out really good. I'm not sure if she's doing any lighting on that or not. A lot of people light those up, but either way, it's going to be a really nice build. James Schulenberg working on a 1/350 scale Klingon bird of prey here. And you can see by the wiring that he's got some lighting going on. Lighting up the disruptor cannons with some fiber optics here. Some more lighting inside the body itself. And that kit's still fairly readily available, the 1/350 scale. Build that to be a nice companion for your 350 Enterprise refit. We have Mark Shue with the Herman Munster build. Let's take a look at what Mark's been doing here. Got the nice green color going on Herman there. That looks cool. Got some lighting on the skull down here that you can see. The eyes are lit up. Pretty nice touch there. Looking really good there, Mark. Thanks for taking part in our Halloween group build. And Tony Pulzini working on the I'll have to see the side of this to see if this is the this might be the Battlestar Galactica Pegasus. Nope. Yes, it is the Pegasus. You can see he's got it lit up on the side of the landing bay there, which is really cool. Got the interior of the bay itself lit. Some more fun with miniature lighting, bringing out that detail. And we have Murphy Peoples here, who's been, I've been following this project with a lot of interest. He's working on a studio scale Spindrift, which was the sort of cousin to the flying sub that we saw in the Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea classic TV show, the Spindrift from Land of the Giants was designed by the same person who designed the flying sub. You can see some similarities into it if you ever start looking at the pictures. But Murphy is doing a scratch-built studio scale version. I think there's some more pictures. We'll get down the line here a little further. Yeah, here's some more. Let's have a look at this. Oh, that's a video, sorry. Yeah, that might lag out pretty bad on here. But I know I saw some pictures of it down here. We'll find them in a minute. In the meantime, let's look at Paul Reese, who's also taken part in our Halloween group build. This is the Invisible Man. And Norris from the movie The Thing. So that's definitely one of my favorites. Love that movie. But looks like he's done a really cool job on this Invisible Man. Got the bandages all looking really detailed and textured there. Great job on the clothing and his little base. Wow. Yeah, that's definitely Norris. Yeah, when he went crazy there at the end. There's just something fascinating about that. Those were actually stop motion puppets that they used. You know, this is before the days of CGI for the movie The Thing, and I still think it's some of the most scariest and most realistic looking Halloween special or horror movie special effects I've ever seen. And he's really captured the spirit of it here. You can see they're meant to be very ghastly looking and pretty scary. Beautiful job on that. Both kits. Okay, let's get down here and see if we can find more on Murphy's Land of the Giants. Shout out to T Commando, who watches our show regularly. He's entered a couple of his models into his local model contest, his Hercules here and his 350 TOS Enterprise, and he took home some awards. So that's really nice to see. And he's been learning more and more and more about model buildings, getting better as he talks about in his videos. He also has a YouTube channel you can check out, T Commando, and so that's great to see. All that hard work is paying off. He got some nice awards to take home. And let's see, here's a picture of Clint Llewellyn's Headless Horseman. And Clint's another one of our members that I've really enjoyed following his progress, because Clint has been just getting to be a better and better modeler as he's gone along. He's learning all about painting. He recently, only within the last year or so, started to learn how to use an airbrush and things like that. And that's what it's all about, guys. That's what these communities are for. All along the way, Clint's been here and asked people for advice and tips and everything, and you can see the results. And that's thanks to all the people that are willing to take the time to help and share their experiences. And it's not all about who's the best modeler. It's just it's your experience, your timeline. You know, how long you've been doing it is the main thing, and it just takes time. You know, so if you're new to the hobby, it can get kind of frustrating, but just stick with it, ask questions, and you can see that the quality of Clint's work has gone up tremendously since he started with us here, and that's really an inspiration to see that. And it just shows you what you can do if you stick with it. And again, thanks to everyone who's helped Clint out along the way. That's what these communities are for. We have Buck Moore here, who is shared with us his work on this beautiful Battlestar Galactica Viper, complete with lighting. Beautiful job on that weathering. And these types of models are really fun to build because you get to add that extra element of realism to it. And you can see what that does. Just a little bit of weathering here and there and some panel line detail. It immediately brings out the realism in the model and doesn't look like a toy anymore. It looks like a real vehicle or a studio shooting miniature. It's just fantastic. So beautiful shots of that model. We'll go on down the line here. Wanted to say a shout out to one of my really close modeling friends too, Eric Hawkins, who's up for a kidney replacement. He made a little post here, not quite modeling related, but we all think a lot of Eric, and Unfortunately, it didn't work out. There was something wrong with the kidney that got donated, so he's back in line waiting for another one. So we're all pulling for you, Eric, and hope that happens for you real soon. He went into the hospital and was ready to have it done, but there was this last minute little thing that happened. So hopefully Eric will be back on track with that. Eric's been a great contributor to our forums and our groups, supporting everybody and helping everybody out for many years. And I got a chance to meet Eric a couple years ago at the Jersey Fest show, and couldn't meet a nicer guy, and just a really good guy to call friend in modeling. So hang in there, Eric. I'm sure it'll all work out for you. We have Dale Anderson here working on this missile boat. It's a modern U.S. Navy frigate, I believe. And he says it's his first time he's ever worked with photo etch, and he's really getting good results with that. And you can see all the detail on this model as well. That photo etch, fine intricate detail, brings out a lot of detail on your model if you've never used it before. But it's not, it's not so much hard to work with. You just have to get used to working with really small parts, and you want to make sure you get the proper tools to bend it and to cut it and everything. It's of course it's made out of brass, and you also want to make sure you get a nice pair of magnifying goggles or glasses to wear when you're working with that stuff. That'll help you out a whole lot because you're dealing with really, really tiny detailed parts. But it just adds a tremendous amount of detail to any model that you add it to. They just can't quite make that, plastic parts in that fine in detail. That's why it's necessary. I have a feeling in the next few years they'll be able to, though, with the advent of the technological advances that we're seeing in 3D printing and stuff like that. We had one of our members, Mark Shue, here just to show you about the fellowship of these communities. He had a problem with his soundboard he was programming here, and a whole bunch of people jumped in and gave him some advice and helped him out, and hopefully he got the problem corrected. Just came down to a matter of the battery voltage, I'm pretty sure, is what the issue was. We have Gary Jacquard here working on the classic AMT Enterprise bridge. Always cool to see that kit getting built up, which was nice to see that kit was re-released a few years ago in a full circular bridge now, something we always wanted to have when we were building those back in the day. Got a lot of the Michael Myers builds going on. PJC 2.0 working on his. I think we got 4 or 5 people that are working on the Michael Myers, so that's a popular build this year. Derek Sabera with his Ecto 1. You can go there and watch the little video of his progress on the work on that. Shannon Freeman just finished up the Scooby-Mobile. I always loved this one. I think it's pretty cool if they actually came out with that kit. Includes the figures and all. Got Scooby and Shaggy in there. I think it comes with the one of the villains too, the guy they called the Creeper. He kind of looks like Frankenstein. He's kind of out in front of the vehicle there. They catch him in the headlights or whatever, but the kit is supposed to look, cartoon-like. There's a similar kit out there of the Jetsons spaceship that's very similar to this. It includes the family and everything, the little car they putted around in up in the stratosphere. We have Brian Knowles, who just recently completed a model. This is the 2017 Ford F-150 Raptor. See if there's any more pictures here. I thought I saw a picture somewhere here on the page of the finished model. I might have scrolled past it already, but congratulations on that, Brian. Brian doesn't get a lot of time to work on models, but he was able to finish that one up. Got Aussie Trekkie showing the really cool idea he's got here on this USS Missouri in 1/200 scale of doing the emergency battle stations lighting that you'd see in a lot of Navy ships, where they go to the red interior lighting whenever they are in a combat situation. So that's pretty cool. And you can check out updates on that on his channel on YouTube, Aussie Trekkie. And we had Lee Chambers finish up his War of the Worlds diorama. You can click on this and watch the video of that. Lee did an entire diorama of the... we showed you a little bit of that during last show. of the old farmhouse that the alien uh, war machine is hovering above and launches that little probe on the cable down inside and is looking, trying to find the people inside, and it looks like something right out of the movie, so it's really cool, and he did a great job with all the lighting and all the detail. So thanks for sharing that one with us. Here are some pics of the, just in case you didn't catch it last week, I'll show you these again. Here's the farmhouse with the probe inside there, all lit up and everything. Now, this was a basic plastic farmhouse kit that Lee took and did all these modifications to it. He made it look like it's been destroyed and burned and, all that. And so it was a lot of work that went into it. Looks like it's pretty well in scale with the war machine. Just a classic scene out of the original movie. Fantastic job on that. And then, let's see. Oh, Heath just posted here. We've got the General Lee that he's been working on. He just put his, he just mentioned that he put his first coat of paint on it. So he's got that orange going down. Looking pretty nice to me there, Heath. Got the chassis all ready to go with the mag wheels and everything. So that's coming along really nice. General Lee's always a really popular build. And here we have, some people must be watching. I'm seeing the thing update as we're doing it here. So Armando de la Cabada, he's got his Michael Myers. This is a not one of the regular production kits. This is a resin kit that's out there. I couldn't tell you who makes it. He may say in the article if you ask him, if you want to find out where he got it. I believe it's a 1/6 scale. And there you've got the classic clown mask there at the bottom. Really nice likeness of Michael Myers. Yeah, that looks just like him. He wasn't an overly big guy. He didn't have to be. He was, supernatural. So he got the job done just the way he was. I really like this. Armando showed this to me a week or so ago, and this is straight out of the original movie. That scene where her boyfriend goes away to get something and comes back dressed up as this ghost with the glasses on, and little does she realize it's not her boyfriend anymore. So that's a neat little nod to the original movie that they put on there. Got the mask. Yeah, they did a great job on the likeness on this one. Nice paintwork as usual from Armando. Okay. You guys are going to have to stop updating me here or I'm never going to make it down to the bottom. That's okay though, we like showing everybody's work. We'll get there. Okay, and I usually like to take about a half hour or 40 minutes doing this, so we're coming up towards the end here, guys. We'll move on to the next segment. Let's see what we've got going on down a little further here. Aha, there's a picture of Brian's truck. That's the F-150 Raptor that Brian worked on. Looks really good, Brian. Still hunting those spindrift pictures. I know there were some interior pictures that Murphy posted. Oh, and here's another update from Tagamo Model Works, my friend Tag. This is the werewolf from the movie. I think it was called Curse of the Werewolf. It was another one of the Hammer films done, many years later after the original Lon Chaney Wolfman. And this is just a really, really cool. I think it's a really nice, kind of a different look to the werewolf. And he's just, Tag is a great figure painter, and you can see all the work he's putting into this. And he mentioned to me, I talked to him once in a while during the week on our video chat session, and he had a lot of trouble with this kit. It was a vinyl kit that needed to be a lot of corrections made to it, and he's done a wonderful job fixing it all up. So thanks for posting that there, Tag. Looks like Daniel Jumper doing a Millennium Falcon. Another completed General Lee by Daniel Jumper. T-Commando with the Slave 1 Boba Fett ship. Of course, we all got to see the latest and greatest Star Wars trailer. Everybody's getting really excited about that one. We might talk a little bit more here in the Q&A about Star Trek Discovery again, now that we've got a couple more episodes under our belt, see what everybody thinks, how that's going along. And I think that's going to be about it this round, guys. We got through quite a bit. So we'll take another quick break here, and then we'll come back after that, and we'll hop over to the bench, and we'll get a little bit of work done tonight. I'll take you through a couple of little tips that I've learned working on these scale model cars, and in particular race cars, where there's a few differences in those between those in a regular street car, and some really simple to do detailing on that that'll help help your model look a little bit more realistic. So we'll come back with that in just a second, everybody. Be right back. Okay, everybody. Well, we're back over with you again, and we're on the bench tonight working on the Polar Lights Richard Petty Torino Talladega model kit. This is a 1/25th scale model kit of the Ford Torino Cobra, or Talladega as they called it in 1969, that Richard Petty raced in NASCAR. And I recently picked up this kit so I could build it up for the cancer awareness build, like I mentioned. And since the color is this light blue, let me slide the model out of the way and we'll show you the box art here real quick. That this will be for the prostate cancer awareness. That's the color of the ribbon for cancer. And this is a really nice kit. I was really pleasantly surprised when I got it. There were a couple of things I had to do to make the kit, a couple little cleanup things I had to do, and I'm going to talk about those a little bit. And I'm just going to talk about a little bit of car modeling in general, some basic things that some of you people new to the hobby may not have learned yet, and might be interested in hearing about how you prepare and get everything ready to go before you start doing any kind of assembly work, when you get ready to do your painting and everything. And then some little detail things that you can do to bring out the more realistic aspects of this model to make it look more like a real race car. So, but getting back to the kit here, this kit is really nice. I was really surprised. It's highly detailed. It has a lot of parts. The detail of the chassis, the engine, the roll cage, everything about a race car is all here. And they, as I mentioned at the top there, they haven't been doing these kind of kits for very long. So I'm really pleased to see that not only are they doing a really good job on them, but some of these subjects that they're coming out with, are kind of hard to find these days, especially some of these, really vintage type race cars from back in the 60s and stuff like that, when NASCAR was really pretty much in its heyday. And so I saw this Richard Petty kit and decided to try that one first, and really, really pleased. Now, this little logo that you see right here in the bottom says that the kit comes with Slicks decals. Well, any of you guys that are out there in the car modeling hobby and have been doing it for a while, you know right away that that's a really good sign of quality, because Slicks is a top-notch decal provider, and all the decals that were provided in this kit were done by Slicks, and I'm here to tell you the quality totally showed. I mean, these decals went on completely flawless, no problems with any tearing or wrinkling, and they're molded on, they're done on a really thin film too, so it didn't take a whole lot of a sealer to seal these up and make them look like they've been painted onto the car and all that, and didn't have any issues with any kind of reactions or anything like that. I didn't even have to use any Solvaset or decal setting solution on these. They fit around the little curves and the like the sides here where the body lines are, the numbers and everything sat right down and sealed themselves up right tight against the body. So that was a really good sign of high quality right there. Well, the kit itself, I was really surprised that some of you guys that are NASCAR buffs will know that in '69 the Ford cars were some of them were running the older style 427 engine, and some of the teams were running the newer, brand new Boss 429 engine, which was Ford's answer to the Chrysler Hemi. That was Ford's first hemispherical engine, and it's actually considered by most engineers to be more of a true Hemi engine than the actual Chrysler engine is, which means that the combustion happens at the exact center top of the inside the combustion chamber, at the very top center of the cylinder, and the Ford Boss 429 engine was actually more of a true Hemi than the original Chrysler Hemi was. It didn't turn out to be a very successful engine on the street, but in NASCAR racing it was very successful. And so this kit gives you the option to build either engine. So you can build the 427 or the 429, and they look completely different. The cylinder heads on the Hemi engine, of course, are way bigger than the regular sized heads. So that was a really neat little touch, I thought, right there, that they included, the ability to build both engines and have your option on that. So if you wanted to, for example, if you wanted to buy this basic kit, there are tons of aftermarket decal suppliers out there. So if there's a particular car that you want to recreate and just use this as the basic shell or whatever, you have all these options in it, and especially if you're trying to be accurate, if it's supposed to have a 427 or 429 or whatever. So you had your options there. You also had the same difference for the decaling on the hood. You had either the 427 or 427 or 429 identification there on the top. So I'm going to be doing this one as the Boss 429, but so that's just really cool to see that. We're going to open the box in a second here and show you some of these parts and all that, but I wanted to talk about a little bit on what you do to start off when you build one of these, and it basically applies to almost any kind of a car kit, and in particular on a kit like this, you can see that this Torino, I'm going to take the hood off of here so I don't accidentally drop it on the floor or something. I just clear coated it this morning. I don't want to scratch it up, but you can see on this particular Torino body style that there are a lot of really sharp lines on this body. If you notice, like on the tops of the fenders, back here by the sides of the roof, at the top of the rear quarter panel, and just areas all over the body line along the side here. These are all really sharp edges when they come out of the mold, and they're not that sharp on a real car. So the very first thing you want to do before you do anything else with one of these bodies is check and make sure everything's straight, number one, and number two, go around and put your finger on all these edges and everything and feel them. They should not feel sharp. And so what I basically do is I go over these cars and I'll take some 320 grit sandpaper, just regular wet dry sandpaper, And I don't bother sanding it wet. I just sand it dry, and I just lightly go over all these edges on these models. So in this case, I went over the tops of the fenders here, the edges back here on the quarter panels, this area back here where this little spoiler sticks up, the front edge around here, okay, and inside all the window openings. That's really important because a lot of times the edges of those on the molding is slightly rough and you don't notice it, but when you go to put down your chrome finish or your stainless steel finish that you do on the window trim and all that, that has to be perfectly smooth, or that silver just magnifies all that imperfection, so you see all that jagged, rough looking plastic material in there, and you want to make sure you get rid of all that. So you don't have to be like super aggressive with your sanding, like 320 grit paper, and just I like to fold it over so I can kind of feel it, and I just, like I said, lightly go around all this stuff and get that all worked out until I don't feel that that sharpness on it anymore. And that makes a big difference on your paint job, because your paint job will look a lot more realistic then, and the paint will not try to run away from these areas as much. When you got a really sharp edge like that, the paint will actually try to expel itself away from that, and that'll wind up making it to where you got to put more coats of paint on it to cover it up than you should, and you start getting your paint on there too thick and all that. So that's one thing that you need to try to do whenever you're doing your basic prep work on a model like this. Then around the wheel well openings and all that, you want to sand in there a little bit around the windows and everything. Now on this particular car, what I noticed right out of the way is the detail on the body is really nice. It's really accurate to the way the Torino Talladega was supposed to look. I, of course, went online and looked at pictures of Richard Petty's real car from that year. And one thing I noticed that was kind of strange was right here at the wheel well openings on both sides, the mold, I don't know if they had pulled it out of the... It's going to be interesting to see if there's any other people that have this kit. I plan on getting a couple more of these, so I'll find out for myself if it was just this one particular one, or if it was a defect in the the mold or whatever. But this whole thing had the whole front end of the car was slightly bowed up just a tiny little bit. I mean, it looked really strange. And when I set the hood on it, you could of course see that the hood wasn't laying down on it flat. It was bowed up a little bit, and it didn't look right. And it made the whole front end of the car just look really weird, because it almost looked like it had been a wreck, where the front part of the car got bent up a little bit, and it was bowed, right here in the center, right here in the center of each wheel well opening. So what I did is I took my my heat gun and set it on low, and I just really carefully heated up each one equally, and then I just gradually kept pushing on it until I could feel it just barely. You don't want to heat it so much that it actually starts to warp, because that's already gone too far. You just heat it up really gently, a little at a time, and just keep trying to pull it, and I could feel it starting to move in my hand, so I just moved it down just a tiny little bit, and then I had my handy dandy water pump spray bottle here handy, and I just squirted it down with cool water right away, and that immediately locked it in place to where I had it moved. And now you can see that I've got the the front end of it, it's perfectly straight now. But before, like I said, you could definitely see an angle of about maybe quite a few degrees. It was off by quite a bit. So it'll be interesting to see, like I said, if this happens on all these kits, or it was just this one that I got. Maybe they took it out of the mold too soon or something like that. Well, after I got that corrected, I put the hood back on it, and I could see that on the sides now I had it fitting pretty good, but at the very front of the hood, it wasn't curving down enough. It was still kind of sticking up, so like you'd see a big gap if you looked at the front of the car, and that, of course, on a real race car, that'd be terrible going 180 or 90 miles an hour. The air getting underneath of that would just literally rip the hood right off the car. So I had to do the same thing. I just took the hood and I carefully just heated up the front edge of this, and just what I did is I think I took one of these magic markers or something. I had it laying underneath of it, kind of like this. I'll just give you a look. Kind of something like that, and I had my finger, holding it down. This is, of course, all before it was painted or anything, just the, bare styrene plastic. And I just started heating on it, and I just, I could put equal pressure on it, and I just barely pushed down on that leading edge of the hood there. And now we'll show you what it looks like from the front. If I can tilt it that far here, you can see it's perfectly sealed down on there, nice and flat now, and like it should be. And the gaps around the sides of the hood are where they should be and all that. So, you know, little things like these are the things that you want to take the time to do to your models, and that, you know, that makes them look so much better when they're done. The difference between, you know, it's those little details that you pay attention to when you're doing something like this that will make your model stand out. And you know, it takes a little bit of time, a little bit of fiddling around, but it's definitely worth it. I'm really glad that I took the time to do that, because, you know, unfortunately on a lot of these car kits, the hoods don't fit very good on them to begin with, so you got to fiddle around with them all the time. And making an effort to make them fit good and everything makes a big difference on how the model looks. So I'm at that point right now where I've got, you know, I got the body all cleaned up, sanded and everything. Then I went ahead and applied my primer and let that dry a little while. Then I came back and sanded all that with 600 grit sandpaper. Let that sit for a little while, and then I hit it once more time with a really light coat of primer just to fill in any little imperfections and everything. Sanded that out once more with 600. Then I sprayed my base coat on this. Now during the last show, you guys will remember that I talked about the craft acrylic paints. Well, this is the first car that I've painted with craft acrylic paints. Now I use the clear finish, my regular automotive clear that I always use. That's why you got the really nice, you know, really nice shine on this. But I just wanted to experiment really and see how well it worked covering over the craft paints. And I got to say, I'm absolutely, totally pleased with it. I mean, it worked out fantastic and didn't have any issues with the craft paints. I was able to make this exact Richard Petty blue by combining, I'll show you the colors I used here. One's by Folk Art called Neon Blue, and the other one is Anita's. These paints are all basically the same, just a few different brands. Anita's, but it's another craft acrylic paint. This was a slightly darker blue, so I basically started off with this color here, which was already pretty close to the Petty. Richard Petty has that unique blue color that he always ran on his cars. And this was pretty close, but it was just slightly too bright, so I just kept putting in a few drops of this at a time, mixing it together until I was satisfied I got the shade that I wanted, and there we had it. So then I did what I said. I strained my paint, shot it through the airbrush, and it took about 2 coats, and we have this beautiful color on the car. So the craft paints work really, really well. I used Tester's gloss coat for my first sealer, which is a lacquer, just so I would have a sort of a slick surface to go ahead and put all my decals down on it first, and that way they slide around a little bit better. You can have easier time placing them, and you don't get as much silvering underneath of your decals. Silvering, for those of you who don't know, is where you get little tiny air pockets trapped underneath of your decal film because there's a little bit of a rough texture on your paint, and so when you finish everything up, it looks like little silver dots underneath of your decal, and it kind of ruins the appearance of your decals. So you want to try to avoid that whenever you can. So putting your decals down on a really smooth surface helps that, and gloss tends to be, you know, smoother than like dull coat does. Dull coat leaves a kind of a little texture on it. So whenever you're doing decals on something like that, you want to use a gloss coat first. So then once the decal's set up, I went back and cleared it with my automotive clear, my 2-part clear, and let that dry. I buffed it out once, and then here's the result. So this part of the body is already done. So what I'm going to show you guys right now is we're going to get into working on the tires here and some of the trim parts on the car. But the last step that I need to do to this body right now is the trim that goes around the windows, and in some cases, like on a street car, they have the trim that goes around the wheel openings and all that. But we don't have that on a race car. There's some different products out there. I'll just kind of talk about that real quick. I'm not going to be able to remember the name of these now, and I don't think it's written on here. But there's these liquid. Somebody that's seeing this on the chat hopefully will say what the name of these are. But there's these liquid chrome pens that are out there now, and you can get them in different sizes as far as the tip goes. This is the 2mm, which is kind of the nice one for kind of like doing general work. And then they have this really fine one here, which is I think it's a 0.5mm, which is really nice. But these actually give a really realistic chrome-like finish on there, about as close to chrome plating as you'll ever see. You have to be easy with it because it's a paint pen. It's not actually a marker. So when you depress on it a little bit, it dispenses paint out of it. So you don't want to flood it out of there. You know, what I like to do is I just push it in once and get the tip wet and do as much painting as I can, and then stop and then do it again. I never push it in while I'm actually painting, so I don't accidentally, you know, blob a whole bunch of paint out. So there's those, and those are kind of more appropriate for like a street car. If you're going to build a model of a street car that has that bright chrome finish on that, around the windshield, you know, around the windows, around the wheel openings and things like that, the marker lights on the sides. But in this case, as you can see on the box art here, this race car has all the chrome. It's more like brushed aluminum. It's all been toned way down. You can see the, you know, the grill and the bumper and everything on this car are not chrome like they are on a regular street version of this car. Same thing with the, you know, the trim around the windshield and this little trim that you see on the side here. So in that case, I'm going to use this regular Sharpie, just their standard size of their silver, and I'm going to go ahead and put it on with that because that gives a really nice aluminum look, you know, like almost like a brushed aluminum look. And so I'm just going to carefully take and, you know, guide this on around the trim detail of this model. I want to make sure I got it good and ready to go here. Sometimes they get kind of dry when they've been sitting. I think I got a couple of these. Let's make sure I got the best one here before I get started. I want to make sure you're using a good, you know, fresh one. You don't want to use one that's half empty or worn out, you know, and it quits working on you in the middle of the deal, because that's no fun. So this one here looks like it's working pretty good. Always test that out before you start. This one here is kind of dried up. Sometimes you just have to tip them on end, you know, and let them stand up for a little while and it'll come back. They've been laying on their side in my little box for a while, so they might have backed off a little bit. Both of these look pretty good, so we're going to use this one. And I'm going to go ahead and put my magnifying glasses on here so I can see this up close. And it takes a little practice to do this, and I may even slip up a few times. But the beauty of this is that if you use a good high-quality clear coat on this, like we've got here, if you make a little boo-boo, you can take... this is not like, at first especially, you know, it eventually will dry if it sits a day or two, and it'll be on there, you know, really good. It'll last. But it doesn't dry up immediately, so, and it doesn't stain paint or anything like that. So, you know, it's not an active solvent type material. So if I make a little boo-boo along the way here somewhere, I can just take a little bit of my fine polishing compound and put it on a little towel or something and just buff it back off and start over again. So that's the beauty of that. You know, if you use regular paint or something, if you screw it up, you're stuck with it. I mean, you're going to have to repaint the area that you screwed up, or, you know, maybe get lucky and buff it off of there. But this is a really simple and easy way to do it, and it looks really good when you're finished. So let me start on it. I'm going to start on the front windshield. I'm going to take the car off of the stand here because you got to be able to handle it in a bunch of different angles and stuff. And just make sure one more time that our stuff is flowing good here. It looks pretty good. So I'm just going to start on the front windshield. Get rid of the hood for now. I'm just going to start working my way around it. And you know, like I said, your hand has to get steady, and you learn how to do it after a while, but it's not too bad. And once you start, you want to just kind of keep it flowing. Just work your way across. Got these little braces that are, you know, windshield braces that are extra on a race car that you don't normally see. Have to do those too. Now this particular windshield goes all the way across. Chrome trim does. And sometimes you gotta, you gotta let it soak in a little bit and then hit it again because it goes on kind of thin. Here we need to fill in, and you'll see where it, the trim sort of like it has a little groove in it where it reaches right up to the area where it's painted, or where the trim stops and the paint begins, and you just want to kind of see if you can lay this, the tip right on that groove and just let that guide you as you go across. As I said, not to worry if we make a little mistake here. We can clean that back up and start over. But so far so good. Okay, and it kind of comes down along the side here. It's very thin on the bottom. It doesn't extend down on the bottom very far at all. So in that case, I'm just kind of staying right on top of it. Get a little bit more flow going. If the marker starts to stop on you, just keep a piece of paper handy. Paper seems to be the best thing to reactivate it and get it to come back and start flowing again. Alright, we're down around this corner here. Get that up there. Now we just go up this post. Losing a little bit of my flow there. You can see that. Turn around the other side here. So now we've got our realistic looking aluminum trim there on the front part of our windshield. So now we've got to go, I'm going to actually switch to this other one. I think this one might be a little fresher. We've got to do a little bit of trim on the side of the window here, and then the trim doesn't quite extend from what I can see. If you look at this shot here, you can see that this trim goes along the top and it comes down this little arch right here, and it doesn't go over the middle part of the door. It stops right there, so I want to try to do the same thing and see how that works out. Alright, I'm going to go along the edge of the roof here. I'll touch up on this one first. Yeah, this one's flowing a little bit better. It's all about the flow. If it's not flowing enough, you'll be frustrated and you'll be going over it again and again, and that's when you're going to have a chance of slipping or screwing up. You want to try going over it as many times as to a minimum. And so if there's not enough coming out of it, it's going to make it more difficult, but this one's working a little bit better. So let me go up around the edge now. Just keeping it right on the edge of that line. nice little arch. Make sure we get this little line on the inside too. Okay. You can see that. Looks really good. I know this camera doesn't do it a lot of justice here, but in person it looks really nice. So let me go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. Now, what I'll typically do on this too is I'll let it sit for, a good couple hours after I'm done with it, and I'll come back and look at it and see if there are any weak spots or spots that, look a little thin or something like that, and I'll just touch it up again. And you want to make sure that, especially like the first couple hours after you do it, don't touch it, don't forget and pick the model up right on the, on these cars we often pick them up right here on the edges of the roof, and you're going to smudge that stuff if you do that. If you do, no problem. You can just, like I said, you can buff it back off if you haven't waited too long, and you can redo it and you won't have any problem. So here's the other side now. Whoop. Okay, we have that just looking so. Now we're going to go ahead and go around the back window. Just got a little border that goes on that. Do the little braces there. Okay. Can't believe I made it through this without screwing it up, guys. Had a pretty steady hand tonight. Okay, so I'll show you this real quick. There's the back window. I know it's kind of hard to see against that blue, but it looks really good in person, and it's nice and clean. And when you do it and you do it right, it won't look like you drew it on there with a marker, guys. It'll look just like, it was painted on, or, it's actual foil that you put on there or something. So that's a little tip for you for doing your trim, and especially, like I said, on these little, like on this race car type, this looks really good because it's supposed to be not, really bright chrome finish. But if you use one of these other ones, you can get it to look just about like real chrome plating. I mean, this is some really fantastic stuff. But it's more runny and you got to be a lot more careful with it. So just keep that in mind. So let's set the body off to the side here a little bit now, and we're going to work on some other stuff. Go ahead and put this over here. Get the hood out of the way. All right, the next thing I wanted to show you guys is the tires. And believe it or not, tires are a really important part of your model as well. I mean, you think, well, they're underneath of the car. Once they're on there, you don't really see them. But on a race car, they use what they call slicks. For some of you people out there that are not so much into cars, what slicks are is they don't have any tread on the tires at all. They are made to, stick to the track, the racetrack, and be, a more broader contact patch. And you're not necessarily going to be driving the car through rain and adverse elements and all that, so you can take advantage of that on a race car. Of course, trying to drive those type of tires in the rain, you'd be in big trouble. But so slicks, when they've been used on a race car, they look a particular way. You'll have typically kind of the regular, black sidewall or whatever, but the surface of the tire, the tread part of the tire, will look, rough and worn out. And a lot of these, that goes a long way with these little model kit makers, because if you look, you can see that we have some actual miniature tread going on there, which shouldn't be there on these tires. They should be bare slicks. There's a mold line down the center of that, as you can see. And of course, that doesn't look very realistic at all. That's makes the model look like a toy. So even whether you're doing a street car or a race car, I recommend that you take, and scuff up the tread area a little bit, at least to get rid of that mold line, and just to give the tire a little bit of wear, just to make it look like it's been rolling down the street. And streets aren't clean, they're not perfectly clean, so they're gonna have a little bit of a different appearance than the sidewall. On a street car, the tires are done to a higher level of detail than they are on a race car. On a slick on a race car, they're just, they're not made to look super pretty. Where on a street tire with a white wall or whatever, or raised letters, they do a better job on the sidewall to make it look nice. So you'll see that nice kind of shiny, black appearance. But on a race car, they don't always look that way. So what I'm going to do here is I've got my Dremel tool ready, and I've just got the standard sanding drum on there. I'm going to spin this thing at, I don't know, probably at the third highest setting. You guys can hear that. Something around that level right there. And I'm just going to go around this tire, and I'm just going to scuff it with this thing. I'm going to keep it flat like this, and I'm just going to go around it and get rid of that mold line, and then just kind of generally scuff it up a little bit. So here we go with that. And these are like really rubbery tires too, so it's going to grab this stuff pretty good. But some of the harder tires are different, but these tires are made out of like a really realistic rubber. So all I'm doing is just, working my way across it. It's not usually this grabby. This is some really, I think you could actually roll on or use these as real tires if you wanted to. But I'm just getting rid of that little bit of tread detail that's in there. I mean, it's a very shallow tread. It's barely noticeable. Not nearly as much as you see on a a model kit that's of a regular street car, but there is some there, and I want that all gone, along with that seam that's going on there. Okay, so I'm just working my way around. You can see it disappearing. I don't want to stay in one spot too long and gouge a deep, gouge into it. I'm just scuffing it up is all I'm doing. Okay, and like you see, it's grabbing every once in a while. Not used to this kind of rubber. Definitely different than I've worked with before. This isn't even coming off like your regular vinyl tires do. This is more like real rubber. It even smells like real rubber when it's burning. See just a little bit of that mold line left there in the middle. And believe me, guys, if you don't take the time to do stuff like this, people will notice it. I mean, anybody that builds models will notice that. If you're gonna you know, if you're building for your own purposes and stuff, you know, you still want to, whether you're taking it to a show or not, you still want to have your model um, turn out as best as it possibly can. And like I said, it's these little things like this that you combine all those things together that makes for a really nice model build when it's done. And you know, next time you're looking at models and stuff like that, look for those little things, and you'll see what I mean. You know, you see a really nice, you know, like you'll see a really nice model where the body has been painted really nice, but when you look at it up close, you see the tires sitting on the ground. There's a big, you know, seam in the middle of the tires that hasn't been cleaned off, and the car's actually sitting on top of that seam. The seam is so thick and big or whatever. You know, to me that really takes away from it. So for your, like I said, for your overall presentation, you know, just do these little extra things like that, and you'll really be glad you did. And other people will notice it too. So there you go. We're getting our way around. Now, what I'm doing now is I've just got regular 180 grit sandpaper here, and I'm just scuffing it all up again. I'm just, you know, evening out where I made my little work I did with my little grinding tool here. And but this, you can see that the top of the tire now, or the tread part of the tire, it's sort of turning a grayish look, and that's exactly what you want on a race car, especially. That's how their tires look when they've been on the track, or even if they haven't, even if they just rolled, you know, a little ways and didn't really ran them hard or anything. That's how they look. So that's what we're going for here. Now, if you've got sometimes they have a little low spot in them, you know, like you can't get to it. Just squeeze the tire from the sides and make it, you know, make it bow out a little bit like that at the top, and then you can get to it and you can clean it up. Sometimes there's high spots and there's low spots. But you know, and don't, you know, like I said, don't take this too far. Don't, you know, do a lot of that, or you're going to get a flat spot on the tire, you know, which is going to look terrible. You just, like I said, all you're doing is just scuffing it up a little bit. Just take enough off of there where you're getting rid of the, you know, the mold line, and in this case we had a little bit of tread we were trying to get rid of. On your street tires, just scuff it up a little bit, but leave some of that tread there. Don't sand off all the tread, or that won't look right on a street car. So just kind of keep that in mind. Okay, so we're going to show you what this looks like now. You can see that. So if I was to take this to a model show, the judges will look and they will see that, and they'll say, okay, that's an extra attention to detail that somebody paid to that, and that looks realistic, and that's how it should look. Versus if I just had this tire looking like this underneath of that car, that's a knock on the build. You know, they're going to see that. So, and as I said, besides, you know, not trying to be a, you know, looking down at the nose at people who don't show their models. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just saying, for your own purposes, you want to, you know, you want to do this stuff to your models. You want to, everybody wants their models to turn out the best that they can. So just take that little extra time with stuff like that, and like I said, you'll be glad that you did. So that's how you do that. I'm not going to do all 4 of the tires here and take up a bunch of time, because we're going to move on to something else. What I'm going to show you next is we've got this, we've got these chrome parts that that come with this kit. I'm going to get them out of the bag for you. And that's the front and rear bumpers and the grill and the valve covers and stuff like that. We're not going to worry about the engine parts right now, just the body stuff. But as you can see, get this out of here. Boy, they molded that on there tight. No slack at all. Maybe a pair of scissors will help that. There we go. Okay, but what I'm going to show you here, as far as, you know, talking about the detail on this kit, you can see that there were 2 types of grills for these cars. They were the more traditional looking, almost standard street type grill that had these 3 bars that went across, and then they had another one that had sort of like this wire mesh that's in it. Well, looking at the box art here again, we're going to use the wire mesh version. And then you know, you have the front and rear bumper. The interesting thing about the Torino Talladega is kind of funny. They actually took the rear bumper of the car and used it on the front as well, because it was more aerodynamic. So the The bumpers on the front and the rear are both the rear bumper of the car that was on the production car. Kind of strange, but that's how it worked out. Now, one of these bumpers has a little, it's too shiny for you guys here to see it, but it's got a little bit of that screen detail cast into it, so I'm assuming that that's the front one. It's like an air intake screen. So, but you can also see that with the options here, you get the regular 427 valve covers, and you get the Boss 429 valve covers. You see the difference in the size I'm talking about on the Hemi head? So we're going to be using these. We'll deal with those a little bit later. But these parts are like really bright chrome, right? And on the kit, you can see they've all been toned way down. They're made out of aluminum. Okay, they did everything in racing for lightweight. Same thing with the headlight bezels around the, headlights and all that, and the grill. So we want to get rid of that. Well, a lot of guys, what they'll do is they'll strip the chrome, and they'll repaint it with something. Well, there's an easier way to do that that looks, I think, just as good. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do that. We're going to get these parts removed from the tree here. I'm going to go ahead and get them off there with my sprue cutter. Okay, and we're going to use this grill here, the one with the sort of mesh detail on it. Okay, we're going to check out our little, there's just a tiny little bit of nub on there from our leftover sprue attachment, so I want to clean that up just a little bit. Don't want to sand too much and remove that plating, just in that little spot on the bottom here. Get rid of that. And this, this is the rear bumper, because you can see if you look at it close, it's got like a little extra, there's a little extra filler panel that you didn't normally see on the street car. You can kind of see it right there. This little panel right there, so that there was no air gap in between the bumper and the rear quarter panel. That's for aerodynamics. That wouldn't be there on a street car, but it is on this car. So they've got that molded on there. All right, so we've got these pieces ready to go. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use some regular Testors dull coat. That's all we need, guys, and this will bring this right down to looking like nice aluminum. So I'm going to get a paper towel here, cover up my mat. Put our grill and our two rear bumpers there. And I've got my dull coat ready to go, just regular Testors dull coat. Get rid of our grinder here. Now, I've got my heat gun ready, so I've got it set on low, and I'm going to just dust a little bit of this on and heat it a little bit at the same time. Not blasting hot, just enough to help it dry right away. I'm just lightly fogging it on there. Make sure I get it on the sides and everything. I like to use the same method like on, like the chrome valve covers and stuff. They, on race cars and everything, they never, on race cars, they didn't use a lot of like real chrome, guys. They had everything black and painted and stuff like that. Chrome was more for the street cars that were trying to look flashy. And chrome retains a lot of heat too, so that's not something you want in a race car. Okay, so I'm going to show you the difference now. We'll hold one of these up because it's already dry. You can see how much more toned down that is. And it looks just like regular aluminum. looks like you painted it with some all-clad aluminum, and that's not going anywhere. It's not going to come off, anything like that. You know, you don't need to strip the chrome off of these if you're going to just do something like this and you want it to look that way. So we've got that part done. So now we've got our little intake screen here at the front, okay, and then we've also got the one here at the bottom on the bumper, and we want to bring out the detail on that a little bit. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put a wash on that. So for that, I'm going to use this Game Color wash. It's a water-based wash by Vallejo, and we're going to dilute this with a little bit of water. So what I like to do is, shake it up real good, put a little puddle of it on my mat here, kind of like that, because it's actually kind of, for me, I find it to be like a little bit too strong just in pure form, so I like to cut it just a little bit. Depends on what you're doing, though. If you want a heavier wash or if you want a light wash. So I'm just taking my water bottle, I'm just spritzing a little bit of water on that, breaking it down, and I'll just kind of stir it up, kind of look at it. That's about right. Okay, so I'm going to just go over this front grille. Now, the grille on our car, we could see that black trim is kind of like all the way around. It's on the mesh and it's all the way around the edges of the headlights and everything too. So that's what we're going to do here. We're just going to kind of just put it on there. Don't even have to be careful or fancy or anything. Just put it all on there. The headlights on this side are like air intakes, and the ones on the other side are supposed to be open. So I don't want to get any paint inside of that. Or I mean, they're covered over with like a silver or aluminum plate, but the ones on this side are like air intakes. You can see on that picture. So we'll try to replicate that. I'm just letting this flow right down in there, in between, on the edges. Start getting a little too much, I just, like I said, I take and touch my brush on here and just touch the brush on this, and it sucks it right up like a vacuum cleaner. I mean, it sucks off the excess and cleans it right back up. Want a little bit more in the middle part of this mesh detail here. Going back and forth on how much I want inside that little trim detail around the headlights. Okay, now once we've got it all laid down there, I'm just going to give it a quick heat job again, just to kind of lock it down so it doesn't run off. Don't have to do a whole lot. And there you go. Of course, on this camera it's not going to show up, but you can see the black if it'll focus. Come on, baby. If I do this, maybe. There it is. That simple. You can see it down on the bottom there. It kind of came off a little bit. I'll have to touch that up a little bit more, but that's the idea of it, guys. It immediately brought that whole grill and light area around it right out. Made it look much more realistic. And it's that easy to use. Very simple. Okay, so we got that. Now I'm going to do the mesh detail on the bottom part of the bumper here. You're just trying to all you're trying to do is just get it on there and get it to look even. You know, you don't want it to be darker on one side and lighter on the other or whatever. That's all you're looking for. She wants to focus, but she's not quite there. Hopefully you guys are seeing that. Anyway, you can see that that brought out all the little, mesh detail on that, and you can still see through the parts that shouldn't be painted, because the wash goes on really thin. So that's that, guys. That's another little step in that little chrome idea there. It made it look, like I said, more like aluminum and not chrome, and that'll look really good on the car. We did our tires. Okay, so on the next episode, when I'm going to show a little bit more of a follow-up on this. I'm going to show about using some of these artist chalks, and we're going to weather up the bottom side of the car and the engine bay and stuff like that, because I want this car to look not beat up, but I want it to look like it's been run on the racetrack a little bit, not showroom new. So we'll use some of this stuff, and I'll show you how to do that on the next episode when we come back to this one. So I hope you enjoyed that little session on the bench tonight, guys. And if you're new to building cars, or maybe even if you've been building them a while, you might want to try something a little bit different. That's what I like to do. I always look to see what other people are doing out there and try what they're doing, and if it works for me, I'll use it. So there you go, guys. That's a little progress on our Torino. We'll come back and we'll give you a little sneak peek at the UFO saucer that I'm working on. You guys have been asking me about that one, and we'll be going to our shout outs and our Q&A for tonight after that. So one more break, everybody, and we'll be right back. Okay, everybody, back with you again. I hope you enjoyed our little session on the bench there. Before we head over to the shout-outs and the Q&A tonight, I wanted to show you a quick little update on my, this is the UFO kit I've been working on for, on my regular TrekWorks channel. As I told everybody over there, I got these really cool studio scale kits from the classic TV show UFO, both the alien saucer and the shadow mobile vehicle. I'm going to finish up this one first and then work on the shadow vehicle after that. But it's coming along really good. and we just left off on the last one. We're getting the basic kit pieces put on this, and then I just shot some footage yesterday of painting it, so you guys will get to see that. Now, along that process, I was doing some research on different types of this chrome-like finish paint, and as you guys know, I've tried different brands over time, found some that I liked and some that I didn't like. Well, I went on YouTube and I found a video review that a modeler did. I can't remember his name, but you just type in, do a Google or a YouTube search for chrome spray paint review, and you'll see that this guy went through like all the major manufacturers, All-Clad, Duplicolor, Krylon, Rust-Oleum, all of them, and he shows you real life, real world comparisons of these plates that he sprayed, and he has these, you know, like bars in the background, so you can see the level of reflection, like, so you can tell how much of a chrome appearance they have, whether they look more like chrome or whether they look more like dull aluminum or whatever. And so in that, I found out that this product right here, made by VHT, which is they've been around for years and years and years. They make spray paints for car engines. You know, they make like header spray paint, engine block spray paint, stuff like that. They have this product called Plate Finish, which is supposed to be it's supposed to yield like a chrome-like finish. And I had sprayed some different types of that. I used the Duplicolor back when you guys, if you remember that big B29 model that I built. And I liked the finish, but the only problem with it is that it took forever for it to dry. I mean, literally like almost forever. I was like afraid to touch it. It would seem like it was dry, but if you held on to it for very long or whatever, you'd make smudges in it, or it was like soft underneath and stuff like that. I also tried, let me grab that here and show it to you too. I tried this Rust-Oleum brand, which is also supposed to be a chrome, and I tried the Krylon as well. And I got to tell you that this is by far, just like it showed in the review, the only one that he found that was better than this was by a company called Spastics. I think it was called Spastics. And you can buy that in a spray can, or you can buy it in a liquid form. You can spray it in airbrush. This, unfortunately, is only available in a can. But the thing that he commented about this is that it dried good. It got hard when it dried, so you didn't leave smudges or fingerprints in it. And it also sprays out really fine, like a nice fine mist. So you don't have to, you don't have to keep spraying it on there to get it to smooth out. It sprays out smooth, like right away. So I thought, well, I'll give it a shot. And I went over to my local, they carry this at AutoZone. They don't have it at O'Reilly's or any of the other chains or whatever. AutoZone seems to be the only one that actually carries it, but you can actually order it online too. I ordered it through Amazon and got it in a couple of days. It was like $7 for the can. And I got to say, I'm really, really pleased with this stuff. It's the biggest difference I was looking for is I wanted something that would actually dry, that I could mask over it, because I had to paint like these black lines on the bottom. And if I would have tried that with this stuff or with the Duplicolor, it would have left smudges and probably peeled it off. I mean, it would have came off in chunks. I mean, it just now my B29, it's been sitting in my model display room now for like a year, and it's dry now. I mean, you can touch it and it doesn't leave any smudges, but for like a month after I finished that model, I had to be really careful not to touch it anywhere or do anything like that, or you'd have problems. So and then there's All-Clad, which is out there, which you can buy that in a spray can as well. A lot of people don't know that. The All-Clads you can buy in a regular aerosol can. They're chrome finish, and they've been known to make good stuff, but it's extremely expensive. And according to his review that he did, this stuff looked every bit as good. Now, this stuff can be buffed as well. I haven't buffed this out. I just sprayed this on there. I don't want this to look like super, super chrome. I just wanted to give it a nice, bright finish like that, because let me show you something really quick. It has these little paddles that somebody pointed out, they look like guitar picks, and that's probably what they are actually made of in the studio model. But these were on the filming miniature. These were done in a highly reflective, bright chrome finish. You can see that, And the reason why is for this exact reason. When they had it spinning on the original TV show, they wanted it to do that. They wanted it to glare like that. So what I did with these is I had some uh, airplane monocoat. A lot of you guys will remember what that is. It's a film that you put over RC airplanes, to cover the framework, and you can buy it in rolls for like really cheap with an adhesive backing on it, and I just had a bunch of that laying around here in this chrome finish, so I just cut out these shapes and stuck it on here, and then there's these little ribs that are molded into this, so I just took a little tool and went along and pressed it into all the little ribs, and it's sticking on there really good. You can see it. So I want those to be, um, you know, really reflective. Like, let me hold one of these up on here. I kind of, you see how that looks? I want that to look like that. I want it to look different. I want it to look like the rest of it is not quite as shiny as that. And that's all the original model was. So that's the idea behind that. But if you want, the guy showed on there where you can actually, buff that out and make it a lot shinier. I mean, like almost like real chrome. He has this. He has it all set up where the plates are laying flat, and he has something standing up behind it with like 4 black bars on it, and so you could see the reflection. And I mean, it's like a mirror. I mean, I was just amazed. And he said after a day or two, he was able to buff on it, and not worry about having it be too soft or whatever. So here's something for you guys to try. There's also a couple of car modelers that have YouTube channels that I saw on YouTube that are using this, to spray their like small little detail parts and all that, like oil pans and different parts on cars and stuff like that, and they love it. So it's an alternative to All-Clad for a lot cheaper price. So we're always looking for good quality at a good price. So I would highly, highly recommend trying this stuff, guys. As always, though, you want to spray this stuff on in a light coat. Don't pile it on really thick, or no matter what you do, this stuff it's going to dry slower than regular paint, because it's mainly got like such a heavy the little particles that are in it that give it that metallic look are so condensed that it's not really a lot of solvent that's in it. It's mostly that stuff. So it's going to take a while to dry, longer than a regular type of a paint. So keep that in mind. But the thinner you keep your coats, the faster it's going to dry. And if it doesn't cover very good the first time, let it dry and then come back, like the next day or something like that, and then hit it again with another light coat. Don't pile it on trying to make it look perfect on your first attempt, or it'll probably never dry. I mean, or if it does, it'll be frustrating because it'll take you months. And if you're going to be masking, or you got to put decals on it or something like that, you're going to be really wishing you wouldn't have done that. Trust me. So there you go, something new, and looks like a lot of other people are already starting to use it and stuff like that. And VHT, like I said, they've been around forever. And back when I was fiddling around with a lot of the real cars, I used a lot of their products, and I always thought it was good stuff. Like you could put their header paint on and it wouldn't burn it off, at least right away. It would last for several months before it came off. Like you can, any paint's going to burn off a header eventually, and their stuff lasted as long as everything else did, and it always worked out really good. So there you go, guys. All right, well, let's head over now to our shout outs and our Q&A tonight. Let's see who's on with us tonight. Excuse me, everybody. Roll up to the top of the page here. On that chrome, I just saw that at the bottom there. On this chrome stuff that I used on these little paddles here, guys, you can also use that silver duct tape, like furnace tape. That you've seen guys that work on furnaces use it. One of my good modeling friends, Chuck Brooks, uses that stuff all the time. He puts it on like his little chrome parts and everything. You just burnish it. You take a little tool and you just rub on it until you get it all stuck down on there really good. And that stuff has a really sticky backing on it, and it'll conform around a lot of shapes and everything. So you can make realistic looking plating with film like that. So there's all kinds of options out there. I just happen to have this stuff here, and it looks really good, and it gives me the look that I'm looking for. So a little bit later this week, you guys are following along with the UFO build. You'll see probably around Wednesday or so, I'll put out another video of that and show you the progress on that as we move along with that one. So up at the top, we got Chris G. We got Space Pirates Hobbies. We got Fubar Model Yard. Mike Kovac, Mark Shu, George Volkowski, T Commando, Fubar Model Yard, Leona Timber Company, Heath Tompkins. Nice to see you tonight, Heath. Good work on your General Lee. We've got T Commando, PJC 2.0, Tagamo Model Works. Nice to see you, Tag. Barrick 13. Let's see, the Captain. Dennis is here tonight. Federation Shipyard. Nice to see you, Dennis. Dan Harris. Mike Schaefer. Twisted Clown. Shannon Freeman. B. Tilley. James Frost. E-Biker 56, our resident paper modeling expert. We showed James's rocket build there at the beginning. And if you guys have any questions about paper modeling, just post it there on the page, and James hangs out there, and I'm sure he'll be happy to help you out. Modeler X, Red Shirt Forever, Outsider 238, Omar. Nice work on your Crypt Keeper, Omar. I love that build. Leona Timber Company, Chris Farrell, Roger Ball, Clint Llewellyn. Good job, Clint. Loved your Headless Horseman build, too. You're really, really getting to be a good painter, Clint. It's nice to see you progress along. Yeah, Outsider 238 says he may have tried that Rust-Oleum Chrome and it took forever to dry. Yeah, I definitely found a big difference. I just took some of this stuff and, sprayed it on stuff and let it sit, and I'd come back every so often and just put my thumb right in the middle of it and to see what happened. And this stuff was the only one that it didn't leave a mark or anything, so I think I knew I was heading in the right direction. But I just think it's nice that, like I said, we have YouTube and stuff where I could actually go look at that video and see a real world comparison between all these different kind of paints, because they're all expensive, and you want to try to find the right thing right away and not waste, $100 trying to find the right kind of paint. Yeah, it'd be perfect for like on your your airplanes that are supposed to look like that. So you could actually put decals on it and handle it a little bit without waiting 2 months. Let's see, keeping on going here. We got Punk Rock Pub. Punk Rock Pub. I don't know if you missed it. I just showed the UFO there a second ago. I'll show it to you again real quick. Here it is. Still got a little bit more to go, but got the basic painting done on it. Got to paint the green around the top and put the domes on it and stuff. And then we'll move on to the. I'm really excited to get. I like this kit, but I bought both of these kits because I really wanted to build that Shadow mobile vehicle. That's going to be the really fun one. Robert Morris. He's asking, do I want to, I want to paint a car with one color, but the frame is darker than the body. Do I use a darker base color on the frame and lighter on the body? I'm not quite understanding that one, Robert. Do you want the body and the frame to be all the same color? I have to see if he follows up on that. Space Dock Modeling. Steve F. Thor, Sun. Excalibur Starship Modelers. David Start. Tom Johnson. Let's see. Kenny's here with Sci-Fi Fantasy. Nice to see you tonight, Kenny. Daniel Jumper. He's asking a question to everybody on here if they have the correct color for the General Lee. I hate to tell you, Daniel, but I think that's an old of an argument as the what color the Enterprise is. It's orange for sure, but some people say hemi-orange. Some people say, it's a different kind of an orange. I think you just go what looks good to your own eye. Clint, I got that kit from a company called Kits for Cash. All one word. Kits for Cash TrekWorks.com. Look them up on the internet. They're out of the UK. I got these kits from over in the UK, but they came to me in about 4 days. So I was really happy with the shipping. But be warned, these are big garage-made resin kits, and they are not cheap. They're also very rare. He's only going to make so many of them. Yeah, Bob, the Duplicolor I had the same issue with. That's the one I did the B29 in, and I'm happy with it now. But while I was working with it, it was a real pain. I had to redo a couple spots on it because I smudged it and thinking it was dry and all that. And but this stuff is way better. I mean, I'm telling you, right? I noticed right away how much faster it dried. And you could probably get it even better. I mean, if you don't want to spray it out of the can, guys, don't forget you can always decant this stuff. You know, like sometimes I do. I take a little cup and I just spray it into it until I get a nice little puddle in there, and then I just pour it into my airbrush and spray it that way. You don't have to spray it out of a can, because that way you can control it a little bit better too. You can spray it much thinner and a finer mist, if that's what you want to do. But it's already thin enough where it'll spray through an airbrush without any kind of thinner. And if you're going to top coat any of these things, I did find that out too. If you're going to top coat any of these chrome finishes, like if you're going to put decals on it and then top coat it with something to seal it up, you got to use the water-based stuff. Like All-Clad has what they call Aqua Gloss Clear. Any regular sealers like Testers or any kind of regular gloss clear coat, it won't work. It'll dull it right down. It'll make it look like regular aluminum. But for some reason, the water-based stuff doesn't. It keeps that metallic look to it, but yet still acts as a sealer. Especially made for that kind of a chrome finish. All-Clad has their own brand, and there's several of them out there. Vallejo has their own version of it. You can find it, and you can spray it through an airbrush. Robert Morris says he wants it the same color, but I want the frame a little darker. Well, I'm still not quite getting it, Robert, because if it's a little darker, it's not the same color. It's a darker color, right? I don't know if you're mixing your paints or if you're spraying out of a can or what you're going to be painting with. If you're mixing your own paints, then if you want the bottom to be a little bit darker, you just darken it up just a little bit with whatever your darkest shade is that you use to make the color. You can also get a little bit of a variance by if you say, for example, on the top, on the body, use like a light gray primer, and then maybe on the bottom prime it with black. And even though you spray the same color on there, it's going to look a little darker where you use the darker primer. That might be what you're thinking of there. I kind of got sidetracked there, guys. Let me go back up and pick up some of the people who are checking in here. Don't want to miss anybody. Leona Timber Company is asking about Spastics. Does it require a base coat? And apparently not. The review that the guy did, he sprayed it right over primer. They say that you have to have that dark black or black gloss black undercoat. Yeah, and you can get more of a realistic chrome look with like the All-Clad if you do that. If you're going for that highly chrome look finish. But on all of them, you're going to have to do a little bit of buffing, because when you look at them up close under a magnifying glass or something after you sprayed it, they have it looks like white dust all over it when it dries, and you got to buff that out. Yeah, they make All-Clad too in a spray can, Omar. The chrome, or probably all their metallics, but I saw a video of a guy using it. Okay, more shout-outs here. Michael Schaefer. Fubar Model Yard. Chris Farrell. Dan Harris, Dadnator 24, Modeler X 2000 SPQR, Rocket Boy 69. Nice to see you with us tonight, Mike. George Volkowski, the Captain. We have Adam on with us tonight. Nice to see you, Adam Triskelion. Jason Matthews, Mitch Seagraves, John Hunt, got Chuck on with us tonight. Nice to see you, Chuck. Gearhead Workshop. Dan Harris says, how do you frost and paint the clear Bassard domes on the 1350 TOS Enterprise? And has anyone used that Krylon Sea Glass Amber yet on one of the builds? Dan, I have not used it. I saw that post. I think we talked about it on the last show of that Krylon paint, that the exact same paint that they used on the Smithsonian build. What I do on mine is I use double-aught steel wool inside and out on the dome, just rubbing it in a circle, making a little ball of it and rubbing it inside the dome and rubbing it all over on the outside until I get it all frosted and even looking. And that's my kind of my diffuser that breaks up that lighting. And then I'm using just regular Tester's copper in a spray can, but I take it out of the spray can and I put it in my airbrush, and I just stand back about 3 feet, or not 3 feet, about a foot, and I lightly dust it on the outside of the dome, just around the edge, just to get just so it, until it looks like copper, but not, totally thick on there. And that way, when the lights are turned off, it gives that really nice look of that. And then when the light comes on, the light still goes right through it. That's how I've been doing mine. And the people seem to have been they seem to be pretty happy with it. But the frosted part of it, I've always done with steel wool. You can get a really nice fine, it doesn't look like it's been sanded. It doesn't look like, scratches and stuff. It just looks like a nice, even, frosted look when you get done with it. Yeah, Omar, they carry this at AutoZone only, as far as I know. We have O'Reilly's, Advanced. We've got 5 or 6 different, car part places, but AutoZone carries this. But you can order it through Amazon or on eBay as well. Thought I saw somebody say they were new with us here tonight. I always like to give a shout out to them. It went by so fast and now I can't find it. Clint Llewellyn says, what's the best way to light the cockpit of the Airwolf so you can see inside it without it being too bright? You just have to experiment with that, Clint. Start off with one LED and kind of put it in there and just, see. And if it's too bright, you can take a resistor and dim it down a little bit, use a higher value resistor, or you can actually start spraying white paint over it. And that'll, try a little thin layer at a time, and that'll start bringing it down. And keep doing that until you get it down to where you want it. And just keep looking at it, put it inside there and look and see what you think until you get it to where you like it. Looks like Heath has to call it a night. See you later, Heath. Thanks for being on with us tonight. Keep up the good work. Can't wait to see the General Lee all finished. So Fubar Model Yard just gave an answer on the General Lee. He says the producers didn't like the way the Hemi orange looked on film, so it was painted Corvette orange flame, then Hugger orange Mopar from a magazine article, Mopar Action, June of 2016. So there you go. There's some info for you. Yeah, I thought Hemi orange would look a little too bright. It's not a super bright orange. It's a reddish orange. It's definitely orange, but it's not like fluorescent orange. He says that if he Fubar says if he was building a General Lee, I sure wouldn't use a GM color even if it was accurate. Yeah, you gotta remain Mopar pure there, Fubar. I know exactly what you mean. Sorry guys, my compressor kicked on. I'll mute that for a minute. There, it's that thing is so loud you can't hear yourself thinking here. Gizmo is on with us tonight. He's asking if I finished the James Bond auto gyro. No, it's not finished yet. It's basically right where I left off on it. I got involved in some other projects. It's just sitting here right off to the side. I'll get back to it and show it on one of our shows after we get past Halloween, probably. Oh, hey, we've got Dave Pashtag on tonight. Great to see you, Dave. Haven't talked to you in a long time. Hope the new job's going well. Have Jason Matthews on with us. George Vilkowski, yeah, I'll be doing a little bit of sound system with the UFO. I'm gonna make something up on it too, where I can have uh, a green, pulsing, glowing effect reflecting off of it too, just like they had on the show when you saw it, you know, sitting there in the woods or whatever. It always had that weird pulsing glow and that sound that came out of it. I'll definitely be doing that. I think I'm gonna actually mount it on a bigger base too. This base that I got for it, uh, it would have been fine, but when I started thinking about doing that lighting that I'm talking about, I can't get the lighting out far enough in front of it to reflect up onto it and light it all uniformly. So I'm gonna have to get a little bit bigger square base. It's okay. I can use this space for something else later on, but it's gonna have to be a little wider so I can get a little. I'm gonna put like a little stage lights, like with a like a light blocking thing in front of it, so when you're looking at it you don't see it reflect in your face, and it'll just shine up onto the model and do a pulsing effect. But I'm really loving the kits. I mean, the kit went together really nice and no problems at all. Hopefully the Shadow Mobile goes just as well as that. It's got quite a bit more parts that need it. You know, this was a pretty simple kit. But that thing is huge. It's like 20 inches long. I can't wait to start on that one. That's, like I said, that's the real one that I wanted to work on. I just bought the UFO as kind of a bonus because they had it. And I love the design. I haven't made up my mind on that one, Leona. We're going to have to see. It might be a surprise this year. Maybe it'll be the Invisible Man. And we got Rick O'Connor that just checked in. Okay, guys, I show we're a little after 9 o'clock here, so I like to keep the show right around 2 hours or so. Otherwise, it starts to get a little, everybody will start falling asleep. So if you got any last-minute questions, fire them off now. Now's the time. Appreciate everybody being here with you, or everybody being with us tonight. And helping out answering questions, and just hope you guys had fun in the chat. Don't forget to check that post on the Google community page that I talked about at the top of the show about the Halloween group build. Make sure you get your pictures in by the 28th, and how you know, I'd appreciate it if you mark them your final picture, and that way I'll know that that's your last shot and that's the ones you want me to use. And then put your name and then put what it is, because I don't know all these different kits sometimes, guys. You might have something that you built that's not like you know, something a little different, and I might not know what it is, and I hate to put it on there and not be able to put a title to it. So make sure you do that too. Modeler X weathering on rocks. Well, just whatever you think looks good. I mean, those artist chalks and those oil-based paints work really good for that, Modeler X. In your basic earth tones, you know, like tans, grays. Maybe do a black wash on it. So, yeah, so by the time we have the next show, everybody, it'll be the Halloween show, so I won't see you guys again until then, because we're not going to be on next week. Remember, the show is going to go every other week. I had a couple of people ask about the schedule in the on the Google page, and just kind of keep in mind it's every other week. If for some reason something's going to come up that I know I'm not going to be able to do the show that week, I always post it over there in the I give everybody a heads up as early as I can. Sometimes it happens that day and I don't know it until an hour or two before the show's going to start. And then sometimes there's bad weather, you know, the internet goes out or something like that. So, but usually if it's posted in the if you see it show up on the, you know, scheduled events on my YouTube channel, that's usually for sure I'm going to have a show. Sometimes if I'm a little doubtful about it, I don't put that up until the last minute. But I always try to make an announcement about it on the page and let everybody know, and I'll pin it on the top so people can see it. But otherwise, it's every other week. It's not, you know, we're doing this. We're doing one on and one off, one on, one off. If I had a Commander Straker costume and a wig like that, I would be, Tilly. Uh, we didn't get a chance to talk too much about the new Star Trek show like we did the week before. I actually thought it got a little bit better after I've seen 4 episodes, and of course there's another new episode on tonight. So I'm just kind of playing along. I'm letting it develop. I see some things I still don't like, and I see some things that I kind of like, and um, no, it will not, Clint. I said that at the beginning. It's going to be on the 29th. It's not going to be on Halloween night. People won't be able to come on the weeknight. It'll still be on Halloween night on Sunday the 29th. Let me pull up my calendar here real quick to be sure, but I think that's what I saw. Yeah, it's the 29th. So you have until the 28th to get all your pictures in, because I have to. It'll take me that whole day working on it, putting the slideshow together. All right, guys. Well, I think that's it. I don't see any more questions coming through, so we'll call this one a wrap. Appreciate you guys being here, being part of the community. We really appreciate that. If you haven't joined our community, hop by over on the Google page. It's the Model Shop on Google Plus, and join up. You'll see a bunch of people over there posting their stuff, like we showed you on the page tonight at the beginning of the show. Really nice people. They'll help you out if you got questions. And we do all kinds of modeling here. We're not just sci-fi. We do all the kind of modeling that there is. You'll see a variety of everything over there. So it's a lot of fun. And then we all hang out on every other Sunday night for the chat session and for the show here and everything. So it's just a lot of fun. So you guys take care. I'm going to wrap this one up, guys, and good luck to everyone that's working on their Halloween kits. And like I said, don't worry if you don't get it on time. Don't feel bad, guys. Just post whatever you can, and post when you do finish it. We'll show it a little bit later on. But I'm really excited about it again this year. It just the Halloween builds really seem to bring out the creativity in everybody, so it should be a good one. Until then, everybody, good night. We'll see you next time.